Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you who have subscribed to this channel. We hit 1,000 subscribers, I believe it was last Thursday. And I promise you guys that when we got to this point, I would do an Ask Me Anything Q&A. So that's what we're going to do today. And today's video is going to be a little bit more relaxed. I feel like I've been preaching at you guys a lot lately. So I got a bunch of questions on my pre-birth memories, and these are mostly from my newer subscribers. So I'm going to go ahead and answer those first. I will post a link to my video below on my pre-birth memories. I'm not going to be able to go into all the context on these questions. Just be aware, I made it quite a while ago and it is not the best quality video. Kathy Hetzel says, when you're in the light, do you have individual thought or total oneness? Definitely both. But rather than individual thought, I would say individual consciousness. So there's different types of experiences that you can have. But even when I was in the light, from what I remember, because it's just glimpses that I remember, I still had a sense of individual consciousness. I wouldn't say individual thought, just because in that state, there's no thought. Like, your awareness and your existence is beyond thought. So our thoughts are not us. The real us is the awareness. So it's an individual awareness, but at the same time, that awareness can be very distinct, or it can be one with the light. But I don't remember any experience where I lost my personal identity. I had a couple people ask me about the music. Could you recommend music here that somewhat reflects the music you experienced there? So I can link some music in the description for you guys. So again, there's different types of music that I remember. Some of the music that I heard when I was in the light, there's just nothing comparable. But some of the more calm music that I remember from the places of reflection and healing was very peaceful and very quiet, and I can find music that somewhat resembles that. So a lot of times if you go on YouTube and you type in 432 hertz music, that's the basic pattern of the music, to where it just keeps building and building and building, and as it resolves, it just keeps building, and you'll notice the pattern keeps repeating in that music. It's a very dim reflection. Also, Constance Demby, a lot of her stuff reminds me somewhat of what I heard, and she even has some really powerful music that sort of reminds me of what it was like to be in the light. So I'll link some of that for you guys below. Sahara says, could you see the planets and solar systems outside our own universe? No, I don't have a clear memory of that. What I remember is the screen, and I remember looking at it and seeing the Earth and the surrounding stars and planets, but I wasn't focused on those. And we very quickly zoomed into the Earth and into the life that I was going to be experiencing. Lady Ellie 8, can you describe what Jesus and the angels looked like? Do you think everyone was in the place you were before you were born? So yes, I do believe that everyone has a pre-mortal existence. As to the place where I was, I remember multiple different places. And so, I mean, it's infinite. It is vast out there. Jesus and the angels, what they looked like. Well, a quick clarification over there, it's not so much about the five senses, it's about a much deeper knowing and experiencing of things. So for me, I did have a visual of this, and it was flowing light, like steam everywhere. There was really no distinction between solid matter and to coming up against skin like this. It was all very bright light flowing from one person into the next, into the air, into the surrounding environment. It was all made up of brilliant light, and it was all flowing together like steam, if that makes sense. But what I felt and what I experienced was far more profound, and it was joy, safety, peace, security, love, just on a level that there are no words for. And that's what Jesus felt like. And I do remember he was smiling, he was laughing, And I was a child, and I was with Jesus and a bunch of other children, and he was explaining to us how the angels overcome the evil in the universe with love. Not with violent weapons and opposition and force, but with love, because love depolarizes evil. So it is the most powerful weapon against it. And I've got a couple of questions about the evils and the hardships in the world. James says, here's where I get confused. So you're saying we choose our parents and life, then explain to me why anyone would want a crack addict mom and a dad in prison, or a life where you have a terminal illness as a child or born in a third world country. Who are picking these lives? And then Doro Kronor, sorry if I mispronounced that. Why are there people suffering from illnesses, I mean physical and psychological, and have to live, for example, with this hard suffering their whole life? I have to be very careful how I answer this question, because the last thing that I want to do is be insensitive. And usually I think these questions are coming from people who have suffered or who know people in these real life situations that they're describing. I think any answer that we give to the problem of evil is going to sound harsh to somebody who's suffering. And so I want to avoid that as much as I can, and this is my best answer. This is what I was shown in my experiences, and this is what many other near-death experiencers have been told. We choose the hardships in our life and things that here feel like very devastating, just like who would want that, who would choose that? First of all, because to our real spiritual selves, this life is like a dream. Another way that it's been described by near-death experiencers is like it's an interactive video game. It's not real. In a sense, it is real. It's very real to us while we're here. The things that we do here are very important, but it's not real compared to our actual existence as spiritual beings. Number two, the whole point of this life is spiritual growth. And my understanding is that there are many planets and many universes and many solar systems where people can go to have different experiences and learn different lessons. But Earth specifically, because we are just coming out of third density, which is about self-awareness and separateness, and because we do have a veil of forgetfulness here, we come here and we don't remember our true existence and our true connection to God. It is one of the most difficult places to go, and people come here because they want to accelerate their spiritual growth, specifically by going through challenging circumstances. And to us on the other side, when we are planning our lives, we're very excited about this because to us it's a dream. And I specifically remember being so out of my mind excited about this life. My mission was to learn unconditional love in some very difficult situations, some of which I've come through, some of which I'm sure I still have to face. But over there, it was exciting. Emma Phillips asks which Bible translation is the best. And honestly, I don't think I'm probably the best person to answer this question. Some of you in my comments know so much more about Bible translations than I do. But I'll just give you my personal preference. So I personally like different versions for different things. I enjoy the New American Standard Bible because I was raised with it. My dad bought me a copy when I was like 7. And so I keep that one around more as like a study Bible so that I can check and make sure I'm properly understanding the text, because I actually prefer to read out of a New International Version or a New Living Translation because it's modern English and it carries more of the thought of what's being communicated. But with those two, I always try to check a more literal translation. If I'm gonna use it, say, in a video, then I'll check a literal translation and make sure that I'm understanding it correctly. I personally love the interlinear. I just go on Bible Hub and look it up, and you can see the Greek or Hebrew words right along with the English, and then you can click on the words to see what they mean and every other place that they're used in the Bible. Another personal favorite of mine is Young's literal translation and David Bentley Hart's literal New Testament translation. Those, according to my understanding, are probably the most accurate translations. Maybe somebody can correct me on that if that's wrong. Having said all of that, my personal favorite is my Greek Orthodox Study Bible because it's translated from the Septuagint, which is the Bible that Jesus quotes from in the New Testament and the one that he was likely reading. So that just makes me feel a little closer to Jesus, I guess, as cheesy as that sounds. And if I'm reading the same Bible that Jesus was reading, I don't think I can go off track with that. I do stay away from the King James because, again, as I understand it, it was a more politicized translation, so it's not as accurate as some of the other translations. So Quiet Johnson says, I would like to know your thoughts on tithing. Does it have to be 10% or can I give what I'm comfortable with giving in this season of my life? In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul indicates that it's about our heart. It's about giving cheerfully, not about the amount that we give. And the point is the attitude surrounding our giving. It's not what we give. So there were times in my life back when I was attending church that I did not give money to the church because we didn't have it, but I gave in whatever way I could. I gave my kids old clothes. I would bake bread because it's super cheap and hand it out to the neighbors. Whatever way I could think of to give, I would give, and I would see myself as a generous person and as a giver. Okay, this is a quote from A Course in Miracles. It says, the law of heaven is that giving and receiving are the same thing. Because when you give to somebody, you are giving to yourself because we are all one. So the more you give away, the more you receive and the more you have to give. And so that's how it works. It's about your attitude. It's about your mindset surrounding the giving, not about what you're giving or how much. I hope that makes sense. One more time asks, perhaps you could talk about how the love that believers should have for one another is superior to the love that the world teaches us to have. This is actually one of my favorite topics. So there's two types of love that the world might preach. The first one is, I will only love the people who love me back. Like, I love my friends but not my enemies, which Jesus clearly taught against that. Jesus taught that we should love our enemies. And then the second wrong type of love, giving on empty, like self-sacrificial love to an extreme. I'm going to give and keep giving and giving and giving until I run myself into the ground and I've ruined my health and I'm resentful towards everybody. And that is not healthy and that is not love. That might be ego saying I have to create this identity of myself that I'm always giving and I'm this self-sacrificial person. And I'm doing it so I feel good about myself or because I feel obligated to, but none of that is love. Love is infinite. Love never runs out. If you are based in love, you can't overgive. You can't run yourself out. Love is coming from a place of wholeness. Love is knowing who you are, knowing that you are whole, you are complete, you are secure. You have everything that you need within. So being connected to those springs of living water and then giving out of that. And you can't run out. You won't become resentful because you don't need anything back from people. You won't run yourself into the ground and ruin your health just giving and giving and giving. Because you won't be doing it out of obligation. You won't be doing it out of a need to be recognized or a need to satisfy an egoic projection of yourself. The reasons that you'll be giving will be genuine, and so you'll have more of a balance of using wisdom as to when to give and when not to give. So love has to come from a place of health and wholeness within yourself. And then anything that you get back from the other person is just like the cherry on the cake because the joy is in the giving. If you are feeling worn out or resentful in any way, then you got to focus on centering here and finding love within here first. Because when you're giving out of love, it feels joyful. It feels abundant. And of course, this is life. And life is, I'm not saying that you're always going to feel that way. This is a journey for all of us. There are going to be times when it's going to be difficult to love people. But that's because we're still growing into that. It's not because the love itself is difficult, if that makes sense. It's because we're still learning how to love. Melissa M 2005 says, how long have you been walking with the Lord? My parents say that I accepted Christ when I was 2, but I remember having a connection with God even before that. I think that's the truth for all of us is that we have a relationship with God when we came here, and we've been walking with God. We've been walking this out even when we seem to go our own way. It's part of the learning. and God will use it all for good in our life. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for the questions. Next video will be back on topic. Probably the second video in the series on end times and Revelation. So thank you for watching. Keep sending your questions. These are fun videos to do, and I'll definitely do more in the future if you want me to. Be loved, be happy, be at peace, and thank you for watching.